welcome to another edition of Lab Rats, your favorite technology show that keeps things simple and teaches you all kinds of stuff about the gear that you use every day. My name is Andy Walker.
He forgot his name. I'm Sean Carruthers.
And today on the show, it's a good day here on Lab Rats. It's an exciting day here on Lab Rats, and I'll tell you why. Because I have installed and have been playing with the new version of Windows.
Yay!
It's called Windows 7. And it's slated to replace Windows Vista.
Yay!
Even better.
Yes.
So today we're going to take you through some of an early look at Windows 7, which is what it's going to be called, and tell you about what we think. Will it be a hit? Will it resonate with you, the everyday computer user?
Will it stop bugging you, the average user?
Or will it drive you more crazy than Vista? Well, we'll let you know, and we'll show you what Windows 7 is all about after this message. First, I want to, say something about Windows Vista. I wrote a book called Windows Vista Help Desk, and it was a wonderful, wonderful book, and Vista to me, it's been good to me. It's been a good operating system. But not everybody agrees. Right, Sean?
I don't think most people out there agree with it being a good thing. I think the standard thing that people think about Vista was that it was a stinker.
Yeah.
It was an okay operating system when it came right down to it, but with all the hype surrounding it about it being a fantastic new experience, it just couldn't help but be a dog.
Microsoft misspoke. They over-marketed it. They let it go early into the marketplace, and it did not live up to the hype. The underlying technology, some of the improvements, the features, the search, all good.
Yeah.
Delivery, not so much.
The overinflated specs you need to run the thing, also not so good.
Yeah, that was one of their biggest mistakes.
Yes.
So, Vista, not necessarily a success. Windows 7, it's going to be the replacement for Vista, and thoughts on that?
Well, having gotten my hands on Vista 7,
Vista 7?
Windows, Windows 7. There we go.
See, there you
go.
go.
The problem.
And that's really the
that's
fundamental truth about Windows
and
7.
This
version. It's called Windows 7.
But it is Vista.
It's actually Vista.
It's
Vista Part 2, but it really is. No, and what I think what they've done here, Sean, if I may wax poetic for a second.
By all means.
What they've done here is they released Vista, and it was full of bugs, and it was a crummy performer, and it had all kinds of nasty issues with it. And then they said, well, it's okay. In a couple of years, we're going to release Windows 7. Well, what they've done is they've fixed all the Vista bugs and added a couple of new features that they took out of Vista in the first place. And now you got Windows 7. So it's actually Vista that works.
It's Vista 2nd Edition.
There you go. Beautiful.
Yeah. And I got to say, having taken a look at Windows 7, it does have a very similar look to Vista in a lot of ways, but it feels nicer. It just is a much nicer experience to deal with.
So let's go straight to that. First impressions, off the top. First three thoughts in your head when you think of Windows 7.
Peppy, clean, happy.
Good. Second?
After that, Vista.
Who cares?
Yeah, no, it's very much like the Vista experience. Now, as we said earlier, the whole problem with Vista is largely one of perception. The hype didn't match the reality of it. And as you said, the search was great. A lot of the things that they updated from the XP, security, fantastic. A really good thing, but from a performance perspective initially, because you needed to upgrade your hardware and people weren't necessarily doing that, it was a bit of a dog.
Right.
Now that the hardware is sort of caught up to the reality of where Vista needed to be back then, it's running a little bit cleaner, I think. And some of these features that they had before, again, they work great on this. And some of the ones that they took away that were really kind of annoying in Vista sort of cleans it up, makes it a little bit less overbearing, I think.
Got it.
So what did you think about it?
Well, this is my initial reaction to Windows Vista 7. Windows 7.
Yeah, this is going to be an ongoing thing. It's Vista.
It is Vista. It's fantastic. It really is. It performs well. I put it on a machine that I had Vista running on, and wow, like it boots up faster. It's easier to use. The interface is better. They've improved the security functionality on it, and I want to take you through the key pieces, the pieces of excitement I think people are going to capture people's imagination on Windows 7. So let's do that.
Right.
So starting off, it actually looks very similar to Windows Vista. The start bar, similar. It's modular. Everything gets when you click on all programs, it refreshes inside of the start bar. So a very familiar interface.
Yeah. So actually, right here, I've got Vista right here, and it looks that way. And then you flip over to this, same sort of thing.
Right. But what Microsoft has done in many cases is they've reduced the number of clicks it takes to get to places, and they've done that by improving the bar at the bottom of the screen, and that's what I really want to show you here. So right here I have several things running. Notice the bar is a bit thicker, as you can see. Now when I run my mouse over it, I see a double window with a number of windows. Instead of having window upon window stacked vertically, I now can see multiple windows just by rolling my mouse over once, as opposed to having to navigate through each one. If I right-click on those icons, this is really cool, then you get a quick list, a clickable list of tasks that you can get to right away. So let me see if I can find one that really is worth looking at here.
This is a different look from Vista as well, that had a different way of showing programs running in the start bar.
Well, so if I just clicked on the Windows Explorer there, and I right-clicked, now you can see the frequent places that I go. So I don't have to open it, go to a side menu, choose something there. It's right in front of me. So there's 1 or 2 clicks, reduced right there. And there's just all kinds of features. Every time that you have a program that's Windows 7 enhanced, it's going to have those shortcuts to allow you to do things faster. No need to anymore to drill into, click, okay, menu, click, menu. It's right there at your fingertips, which is really, really handy. And sort of delivering on the promise of Vista originally, which it was supposed to be more efficient. They didn't quite get there, but they've done it here, which is fantastic. The other thing that I wanted to look at here is also the security features. It's much more security aware. Like Vista had an evolution. It was a little bit more rock solid in terms of its security, because there had been so many complaints about Windows XP and viruses and spyware. And I think Vista went a long way to fix that. So Windows 7 has taken that one level next. They've refined some of the security features. So one of the things that I really liked, as soon as I booted this thing up, it had a little reminder, and it said, hey, you haven't installed an antivirus. And it wasn't in my face. It was just a little reminder, right, with things to do on the system. So it's actually become very friendly around that. And explain what that meant. There's something called user account control, right? User account control was something that says, are you sure, when you wanted to do anything on your system that was sort of, I guess, administrator.
Yeah. And this was something found initially in Vista and considered a pest by a lot of people as well.
That's right. It's just such a pain and hard to navigate. So now what they've done is the user account control has a level of granularity that is easier. So I'm going to type in here UAC in the start menu. And it just says change user account control settings. Wow, what a revolution. That used to be buried deep inside the system. So now you can see that there's actually 4 settings here. So you can say, notify me only when programs try to make changes, meaning software like spyware or viruses. But when I do, don't bug me. And there's 4 levels. Now, when we saw Microsoft at the Consumer Electronics Show in January, what they said was there would be 6 levels. So this is beta software. So it's an early version of Windows 7. So we don't know how it's going to fall out in the end.
Yeah, I think initially they were saying something, there might even be 9 different levels when the rumors were flying a little bit earlier. So it's scoped down a little bit, but this is still potentially a year away from final launch.
Yeah, you should know that Windows 7 probably won't be launched until sometime in 2010, right? So it's still a good ways away, because we're recording this here in early 2009. Finally, I wanted to mention a key thing about, I think there's going to be a huge jump forward in the way that we deal with computers and have already with gadgets, and that's touch. So of course I have I don't think I have it on me, but I have my iPod Touch or my iPhone, and you have multiple gestures, and that's really handy in the mobile world. But actually, it's really great on the computer as well. So I think the next generation of laptops you're going to see will have touch-sensitive screens. The early models already have, and you'll be able to touch the screen and expand a photograph, rotate a photograph, touch the screen and move things around and that sort of thing.
Yeah, the funny thing is when we were at CES this year, my cameraman Pete and I were wandering around, and he went up to a notebook, and the first thing he wanted to do now was touch the screen, and just like, oh yeah, it's one of these, it's an old school one. So I think it's definitely people are conditioned to touching their screen now, getting in there with their fingers and making it, working with their data and their multimedia with their fingers rather than having to go for the mouse.
That's right.
So it is a natural thing, and the fact that they're including the information in there on how to deal with those inputs is definitely a good step.
And one of the things before we go to break, what I wanted to show you is something called gestures. And there's a whole bunch of new gestures here where when you physically put your hands on the screen or you do certain actions, things happen. So in this particular case, I'll show you something called shake. So I'm going to go up to the toolbar here. Now notice I have I have 3 windows open, right? Well, if I want all those windows to go away, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and I'm going to shake. See, they went away. And I let go and I'm going to shake. And they come back as well. So that's just kind of a fun new feature. That's sort of the showcase feature that they have. Okay, so let's go to break, unless you have one final thought.
I think one of the things, and I alluded to this a little bit earlier about how it shows, your start bar. I think this is going to be a big shift for a lot of people, because when you go over to Windows Vista, on the bottom of that you've got a thin thing, as you said. The new one is a bit thicker, but it listed bars with what's on there, and yet you could get a preview of what was in there if you had too many things in there. But ultimately, it was like bar and then a description of it, bar and then a description. It took up your screen real estate pretty quickly. And when you go over to Windows 7, it's all icon-based. So it doesn't have text down there anymore in the bar. It's just there. And I think something that a group of people are really irritated about is they got rid of the quick launch feature from previous version of Windows, where you could actually take an icon and put it down in there. And it would be a quick way to launch it with one touch. And you can kind of do that. Right now they call it pinning to the taskbar. So you can actually take something and drag it down in there and pin it in there. Or you can actually right-click on it. As you said, you have many options when you right-click on things. And you can actually unpin this window from the taskbar. So for example, Firefox, when it's running, it'll appear there as the Firefox icon. Mm-hmm. But when it's not running, it will disappear from there, obviously, unless you pin it there to quick launch it. And then it'll always be there. It'll be the same size of icon. It'll be mixed in with everything else that's running, so it's not going to be broken out the same way it was before. So it'll take a little bit of getting used to, but it's...
as it always does with anything new.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's take a break, and when we come back, we have Mr. Mobile and pictures as well, and maybe some final thoughts about Windows 7 and our coverage moving forward after this. Well, before we get to picture time, let's drop in and see what Jay Goldman's doing over at Mr. Mobile with the latest Mr. Mobile segment.
Hi, I'm Jay Goldman, and you're watching Mr. Mobile. Today we're going to take a look at an iPhone application from Google. Now, they got a bunch of iPhone applications, but today we're going to take a look at Google Earth. You might have played with Google Earth on your computer, and in fact, it's available for Mac, Windows, and Linux from earth.google.com, so you can definitely play with the desktop version. But there's a really neat feature in the iPhone version that I think you're going to like. I'm just giving you a little warning in advance, though. You're going to need a little bit of patience. Sometimes Google Earth takes a long time to load from your home screen. So I'm going to tap on the icon here, and then we're going to get this picture of the Earth, and then we'll wait for it to load. Once Google Earth does come up, it automatically uses your GPS coordinates to find you on the map. So we get a sort of trademark Google Earth fly in to where we are, but we can also search for other locations if we want to see something different. So I can tap on the magnifying glass icon here, and then I can type in any location that I'd like to see. Now, for the next trick I want to show you, it's really important to find a location that actually has 3D buildings. I recommend New York, but most of the major cities in the US are covered. So I'm going to tap on that magnifying glass, and then standard iPhone search box, I'm just going to type in the location that I want to see. In this case, I'm just going to put New York, and we'll let the phone sort of center itself around that. And once I tap on a location, the phone automatically goes and finds it for me. So here we are in New York City. And the neat trick that I mentioned before is that Google Earth actually uses the accelerometer in your phone to give you what they call auto tilt mode. So by just tilting the phone, I can actually change my perspective and see the horizon. I can tilt the phone back down and be right back down into the downtown view. You'll also see the little blue icons and the little white W icons, which are Wikipedia articles. I can actually tap on any one of those, and that will bring up whatever content it is that somebody has linked to that site. So it might be a photo from Flickr that's got geotagging information on it, or it might be a Wikipedia article that somebody's posted about a site, which is a great way to explore the world and learn a little bit more about it. I'm Jay Goldman. This has been Mr. Mobile. You can grab Google Earth from the iTunes App Store. It's actually a free application. You can also get it on your desktop from earth.google.com. Thanks for watching. Check us out on butterscotch.com for more episodes and more of the great Butterscotch shows you've come to know and love. See you next time.
I love Jay. He is the man. I love that new show.
It's a great show.
It's fantastic. Okay, let's go back into the Windows world for a second and final thoughts about Windows 7 before we move into pictures.
Yes.
You had something that you noticed.
One thing that I noticed initially, and one thing that bugged a lot of people in the initial version of Vista, was the sidebar. And it took up a whole lot of real estate on the side, and you had something called gadgets, little tools that you could use to do various things.
All the way down the side. Right?
All the way down the side. And the first thing you notice, if you're one of those people that hated that, is that it's not here when you fire up Windows 7 for the first time, at least the beta at this point. But you know what? It is actually still there, and you can find it just by going to your Start menu, going to the search, typing sidebar, and it'll pop up there. So you just click on it, and it'll give you an option here. Which ones do you want to start up with? And I want the CPU meter, and let's do that, and let's stop. And it'll pop up right there. And it doesn't have that line down the side, which I think was getting a lot of people confused. Just like this section over here is just for your sidebar. And you could actually take your gadgets and move them all over the screen, put them on top or not on top. This one makes it a little bit more clear that there's no dividing line between the two. You can actually use these anywhere. Just drag them around and change your options here, make them bigger, right-click them, make it always on top if you want, change the opacity. So it is still there if you do like the sidebar, but by default you won't be bothered with it if you never did like it.
Cool. Okay. My killer feature, I think, at least for the geeks who will love this, and perhaps your average user as well, is something called a home group. And home group is an easy way to share your documents, your pictures, your videos in a home network. So you have multiple computers. You create this kind of club called a home group. Everybody joins the home group, and then suddenly all your data that you allow on your machine in the home is available to everybody in the home group. So if you want to get a document from the downstairs computer across your home network, very easy to do.
Yeah.
Data sharing on a home network, piece of cake on this. And I'm very excited about see how that evolves and how easy it is. I'm hoping that they actually make a little tool so that Windows XP machines and Vista machines will also be able to use that feature.
Yeah, that is a killer feature because home networking, even just sharing folders among things, even on Vista was not exactly the easiest thing in the whole world. So if that is the way you say it is, I'm all for it. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm looking forward to trying it.
Yeah. And speaking of which, moving forward, we're going to cover Windows 7 extensively as it rolls forward to release in 2010. So stay tuned to Lab Rats because we'll cover it as the software develops and as it gets launched.
Yep.
All right, so let's get on to pictures.
On to pictures. So first up, we have Sabina from Hong Kong. We've had pictures from her before, but this time she's actually in Pyongyang in North Korea.
Oh.
And so she actually sent a picture of herself this time. So thank you, Sabina.
Thank you. Great.
And we also have the desktop of George, who's from the UK. I'm not sure if this is George. I don't think so.
No.
But this is, we've asked people to show us their desktops. This is George's.
Very good. Thanks, George.
Thank you, George.
Excellent.
And last but not least, we have Daniel, who is in New York City.
Uh-huh.
This is a picture of him in the dark.
Picture of him in the dark.
Yes.
Dan in the dark. A self-portrait.
Self-portrait by light of screen. So thank you so much, Daniel.
That's right. Don't forget to send your pictures of you, your mom, your cats, your dogs, your rats, your desktops, your TVs, all the technology that you love and you want to show off to us at.
You don't have to take your picture in the dark, but it certainly might help if the background of your room is really ugly at labrats.tv.
Or
feedback at labrats.tv might work a bit better. And it's easier to type, too.
That's right. Very good. Okay, well, thank you for sending that stuff in. Don't forget, well, actually, let's check with Mr. Crothers before we say goodbye. Any other thoughts, final thoughts, predictions, things you must say to our Labyrinths audience?
Go get Windows 7.
Yay.
The best version of Windows ever.
Awesome.
Especially better than that sucky Vista.
I know. All right. Well, that's another edition of Lab Rats. Thank you for downloading this week or pushing play or however you see us. My name is Andy Walker.
I'm Sean Carruthers.
And we'll see you next time.
Are you ready?
Can I get you both looking at this camera, please?
Wow, that sounded like a WestJet announcement.
Sounds like a Via Rail announcement, actually. Or TTC.
Really, that's my stop. I gotta go.